My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm 52 years old, and 3 years ago I thought my life had finally settled down. Not perfect, not flashy, just peaceful. And after everything I'd been through, peace felt more valuable than money. If you're watching this, let me know in the comments where you're listening from, and if you've ever had a family member try to take something that wasn't theirs. Stick around, because what happened to me still sounds unbelievable. It started with a lake house, a beautiful little place on Lake Martin in Alabama. White porch, wooden dock, early morning fog rolling across the water. The kind of place where you could sit with a cup of coffee and actually hear yourself think. For most people, it would have been a vacation home. For me, it became something much bigger. It became proof that my parents still believed in me, and that turned out to be the exact reason my sister couldn't stand it. Growing up, there were two daughters in our family, me and my younger sister, Melissa. If you asked strangers, they'd probably think Melissa was the successful one. She was charming, funny, always the center of attention. The kind of person who could walk into a room and have everyone laughing within 5 minutes. I was different, quiet, responsible. The one paying bills on time, the one helping Mom after surgery, the one fixing Dad's roof when he got older. Nobody applauds that stuff. People only notice when you're not doing it. For 20 years, I worked as a registered nurse. Night shifts, double shifts, holiday shifts, missed birthdays, missed vacations, missed relationships. I sacrificed a lot, but I never complained, because I loved helping people. Meanwhile, Melissa bounced from one opportunity to another. Different jobs, different boyfriends, different business ideas. Every year there was some new dream. A boutique, a food truck, a real estate venture, a podcast. Most of them failed within months, but somehow she always expected someone else to clean up the mess, usually my parents. My father used to joke about it. Rachel builds things, Melissa spends things. At the time, everyone laughed. Now I realized it wasn't really a joke. When Dad turned 78, his health started declining. Nothing dramatic at first, just slower movement, doctor's visits, heart medication, the usual stuff. Mom wasn't far behind. Arthritis, back pain, fatigue. So I started helping more. Every weekend I'd drive over, mow the lawn, repair things around the house, take them grocery shopping, handle caperwork. The little things that become big things when people get older. Melissa? She'd stop by occasionally, take selfies, post them on Facebook, then disappear again. One afternoon, Dad called me. His voice sounded unusually serious. "Rachel, your mother and I want to show you something." I drove over that same day. He handed me a set of keys. Silver keys attached to a small wooden keychain. I looked confused. "Dad, what are these?" He smiled, the kind of smile that made him look 10 years younger. "Come with us." An hour later, we were driving down a winding road near Lake Martin. Tall trees lined both sides. The water sparkled through the branches. Then we turned into a gravel driveway, and I saw it. The lake house. Beautiful, quiet, perfect. I honestly thought we were looking at a property someone else owned, until Dad handed me a folder. Inside were documents, property records, insurance paperwork, purchase agreements. My name. Everywhere. My name. I remember staring at the papers, then staring at him, then back at the papers. "Dad?" He nodded. "It's yours." I thought he was kidding. I actually laughed. Then I realized he wasn't, and suddenly I couldn't speak. My mother grabbed my hand. "Sweetheart, you've spent your whole life taking care of everybody else. We wanted you to have something for yourself." I started crying right there in the driveway. Not pretty crying either. Ugly crying. The kind that hits you when you're completely overwhelmed. Dad shook his head. "You earned this." "No, Dad." "Yes, you did." Then he said something I'll never forget. "When we're gone, we want you to have a place where nobody can take your peace away." At the time, I didn't realize how important those words would become. For the next year, the lake house became my sanctuary. Every weekend, I'd drive out there, fish from the dock, read books on the porch, watch sunsets. Sometimes I'd invite Mom and Dad. They loved it. Those were some of the happiest memories we ever made together. Then everything changed. Dad passed away first. A massive heart attack. Quick, unexpected. The kind of phone call that splits your life into before and after. Mom lasted another 8 months. After losing him, she never seemed quite the same. When she passed, it felt like part of me disappeared too. For months, I barely functioned. Work, sleep, repeat. Just trying to survive. That's when Melissa suddenly became interested in family matters. Very interested. She started calling constantly, asking questions about property, about paperwork, about accounts, about Dad's investments, about Mom's estate. Money. Always money. At first, I ignored it. People handle grief differently. Maybe she was struggling too. Maybe I was being unfair. I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt. Big mistake. 6 months after Mom's funeral, I drove to the lake house for a quiet weekend. I wanted space. I wanted silence. I wanted one place in the world that still felt connected to my parents. Instead, I found something that made my stomach drop. A moving truck. Parked in my driveway, huge, white, engine running, boxes stacked everywhere, furniture being unloaded, people carrying things inside my house. My house. For a second, I honestly thought I had the wrong address. Then I saw Melissa standing on the porch, giving instructions, like she owned the place. To say I was shocked is an understatement. I slammed on the brakes, jumped out of my SUV, and stared. Melissa saw me and smiled. Actually smiled, like everything was perfectly normal, like I was the one interrupting her day. Then she waved. "Hey, Rachel." I looked at the truck, the workers, the furniture, then back at her. "What is this?" Her smile never moved, and the answer she gave me next would start the biggest family war of my life. Melissa folded her arms and looked at me like I was some stranger who had wandered onto her property. Then she said the words that made my blood run cold. "Relax, Rachel. I'm moving in." For a second, I honestly thought she was joking. I waited for the punchline. It never came. I pointed toward the truck. "The movers." She nodded. "My movers." "The furniture?" "My furniture." "The house?" Her smile widened. "Our family house." I stared at her. "No!" She laughed, actually laughed. "Come on, Rachel, don't make this weird." "Don't make this weird?" There was a moving truck unloading furniture into my lake house, and she was telling me not to make things weird. I looked at the workers. "Stop unloading." Every single one froze. Melissa immediately stepped forward. "Keep going." The workers exchanged nervous glances, then looked back at me. I pulled out my phone. Nobody moves another box." Melissa rolled her eyes. "There you go again." "There I go again what?" "Acting like you own everything." I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Melissa, I do own everything." The smile disappeared from her face for half a second, then returned, stronger, more confident, almost smug. "You may think that." My stomach tightened. Think? What did that mean? I looked directly at her. "What are you talking about?" She stepped closer. "Mom told me the house was supposed to stay in the family." "It is in the family." "No." She shook her head. "I mean the whole family." Then she pointed at the truck. "So I'm moving in." I couldn't believe this conversation was actually happening. "You don't have keys." She smiled and held them up. A set of keys. My keys. The ones Mom had given me years ago. I felt sick. "Where did you get those?" "They were in Mom's desk." I immediately knew what happened. After Mom died, Melissa had gone through everything. Every drawer, every cabinet, every file, every box, looking for money. And apparently she had found a spare set. I took a slow breath. "Listen carefully. This house belongs to me." She shrugged. "We'll see." That sentence hit me harder than I expected, because suddenly I realized something. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't grief. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Melissa genuinely believed she could take it. Then she delivered the real bombshell. "You already got enough from Mom and Dad." I stared. "What?" "You got all their attention. You got all their support. You got all their sympathy." I couldn't believe it. She wasn't talking about property anymore. She was talking about jealousy. 20 years of jealousy. I shook my head. "You've lost your mind." "No." She stepped closer. "I'm finally taking what's mine." What's mine? The entitlement was unbelievable. Then one of the movers interrupted. "Ma'am, where do you want the bedroom set?" Melissa pointed toward the house. "Second floor." I looked directly at him. "Don't move another piece of furniture." The poor guy looked trapped, and honestly, I didn't blame him. He was just trying to do his job. Melissa pulled out paperwork and waved it dramatically. That caught my attention. "What's that?" She smiled. "Glad you asked." Then she handed me a stack of papers. I flipped through them and immediately realized what she'd done. My sister had downloaded random legal forms online, printed them, added highlights and sticky notes, and convinced herself she understood property law. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I looked up. This isn't ownership paperwork. Her confidence wavered for 1 second, then returned, stronger, more confident, almost smug. "You may think that." Now she sounded desperate. "But Mom intended." Define intended in legal terms. She didn't say anything. My attorney agrees. I couldn't wait to talk to my own attorney. I called him immediately. His name was Michael Reeves. He had handled the property transfer years earlier. When I explained what was happening, he went completely silent. Then he said, "Rachel." "What?" "Don't argue with her." That surprised me. "What?" "Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't negotiate. Just keep everyone outside, then wait for me." An hour later, Michael arrived. Dark blue suit, briefcase, calm expression. The kind of guy who never raised his voice, even when everyone else was panicking. Melissa looked thrilled when she saw him, like she'd already won. She practically strutted over. Good, finally, someone who understands law. Michael didn't react. He simply asked one question. "Are you Melissa Morrison?" She nodded proudly. "Yes, I am." Then he opened his briefcase, pulled out documents, and handed them directly to her. I watched her confidence begin to crack, just slightly. "What is this?" Michael smiled politely. "Property records." Her face changed. According to county records, this property was transferred exclusively to Rachel Morrison. Another page, recorded. Another page, registered. Another page, insured. Everything in my name. Melissa's smile disappeared, completely, for the first time all day. She looked nervous. Then Michael delivered the line that changed everything. "Legally speaking, you have exactly the same ownership rights as any stranger walking past this driveway." The movers stopped. Everyone stopped. Even the birds seemed quieter. Melissa tried one last time. "But Mom wanted—" Michael interrupted. "What your mother wanted is already reflected in legally executed documents." Then he closed the folder. Case closed. I thought it was over. I really did. I thought she'd apologize, leave, accept reality. I should have known better, because Melissa had one final surprise waiting for me, and it was so reckless, so unbelievable, that it would eventually bring police officers to my front door. But that happened 3 days later, and when it did, everything changed. For both of us.